Black Bear Pass is one of the most iconic and most dangerous trails in all of Colorado, sometimes even given the title of the most dangerous in all of America. Today we're going to be taking the 5th Gen 4Runner, two 6th Gen 4Runners, the GX550, and the new Land Cruiser down Black Bear Pass.
That is just actually terrifying. Planning on the weather today, we are hoping to hit Black Bear Pass.
Here is our campsite this morning. We've got the guys from Prinsu and CBI right here. They've got their 6th Gen 4Runner, GX550, and they've got the Land Cruiser right here. Today is day 4 for us out here in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado, doing a 1,000-mile road trip, hitting a bunch of the most iconic trails in this area. Now, last night around 10 p.m., CBI and Prinsu pulled into our campsite to meet up with us for one night of camping and then to hit Black Bear Pass with us the next day. Black Bear Pass is the last of 3 iconic trails we have planned for this trip, and there will be videos for the other 2 trails coming here shortly. For those of you who are not familiar with Black Bear Pass is a very iconic Jeep trail in the Telluride area of Colorado. It's probably most well known because some have given it the title of one of the most dangerous, and some people even claiming it's the most dangerous trail in the entire state of Colorado. Now, although the trail itself is not that technical and there's not that much rock crawling or really any significant obstacles, the real issue with Black Bear Pass that gives it its reputation is there are very steep switchbacks and sheer drop-offs. Oftentimes these drop-offs and switchbacks force you to go onto a 1-lane ledge. So in this video, we're going to show you what it's like to do Black Bear Pass in a 5th Gen and a 6th Gen 4Runner, as well as a few other vehicles like the GX550 and the new Land Cruiser, and try and help you decide whether or not it's a trail you want to do for yourself. Now, onX rates Black Bear Pass as a 6 out of 10 on the technical difficulty. However, they also mentioned that the quote-unquote pucker factor, if it were rated, would be off the charts. Right, we are here at the start of Black Bear Pass. We've got all of the rigs lined up going all the way back down there. So we've got the 5th Gen 4Runner, 6th Gen 4Runner. We've got one 3rd Gen Tundra right here. We've got the 4th Gen Tacoma, a second 3rd Gen Tundra. Then we have the GX550 and the Land Cruiser from CBI. And then we have their 6th Gen 4Runner. That's gonna be our crew. We are gonna run Black Bear Pass today. Black Bear Pass is a relatively short 11-mile trail that takes you basically from the $1 Million Highway that connects the town of Silverton and the town of Ouray into the town of Telluride. Honestly, the majority of Black Bear Pass is very scenic and not very scary, but the last few miles where it actually drops you down into the town of Telluride are the famous area that most people are most afraid of.
That is just actually terrifying.
Now, Black Bear Pass starts off with a set of very steep switchbacks, which aren't very hard to do, just some simple dirt road switchbacks that take you all the way up to the summit of Black Bear Pass, which is roughly 12,000 feet in elevation. These switchbacks are very quick and very steep, and there's not very many good places to pull over. However, it is very scenic, and you get lots of really awesome views looking back towards $1 Million Highway and the town of Silverton.
Like, that's death. See, the difference is that you die relatively quickly. The steps, you die relatively, it's longer. So like, if you think of it that way, like, you get to live longer in the steps than you do right there.
Once you reach the summit, you will know you're there because there is a sign telling you you have reached the summit of Black Bear Pass, which is roughly 12,000 feet in elevation. This is where the guys from Prinsu and CBI set up some pretty interesting photo shoots for us with the new Land Cruiser and the 6th Gen 4Runner. We stopped here for a little bit to hang out, take in the views, and soak everything in before we started the descent, which is the longer section of Black Bear Pass. The summit, of course, is very rocky, but I wouldn't rate the trail as technical or hard, and it's really not that hard to do, especially if you air down. It's pretty smooth sailing. Making our way down Black Bear Pass. This is a really cool spot. We've got all the vehicles lined up right here making this first little switchback, and then there's this shelf road that goes out and around there. Super cool. So you got a little bit of a drop off now here on Black Bear. You guys can see the drop off right here. And then the road actually turns into this kind of shelf road after this switchback all the way out there. Now that part is actually a little bit more scary just because you're on that shelf for so long and it is kind of a drop off on one side. So if you're scared of heights, it might not be your thing. Otherwise, probably not that big of a deal. See a few cars going along there right now. Now on the descent, you'll reach this really awesome area on Black Bear Pass where the road makes this massive horseshoe U shape, and this is probably the first part of the trail that might give you just a little bit of pucker factor if you're scared of heights.
All right, so we have just started the descent of Black Bear Pass. This isn't like the switchback section, but we just had our first turn, and then we are hitting this. So I got a little bit of nerves in me. We're hitting this shelf that goes all the way down. And then once we hit this corner over here, we will actually see Telluride, and we're going to descend into Telluride. But so far, like, I don't know. I know I'm going to say different soon because this is actually the easy part. But so far, this is, I think imaging was harder and more technical.
Now once you reach the tail end of this massive U that you're going to be doing, you're going to start doing the actual descent down towards Telluride, and you'll notice that there are several shelves of terrain. In this area there's a lot of really unique mining history, and if you pay attention, you'll definitely see a lot of old mining remnants. So this is the part that starts to get a little bit more scary. I think it's a little bit more famous for that reason. So we're going to wind back down, then you guys can see this gap right here in the canyon. The town of Telluride is down there. That's where we're going. That's where the really more, I guess, dangerous, famous spots are, where scary, where people have rolled and fallen off the trail before. So that's where we're headed next, down there. So far, everything here, there's a couple spots here if you're scared of heights that would be a little bit scary, but it's not technical, it's not hard. You could do it bone stock so far. There is Telluride down there. Here's the trail in front of us. So far, honestly, very easy, not technical. What would you say about this trail so far, Jordan?
Super easy, a little bit like steep, but super easy. But that's the scary part right there, actually.
Coming up right there. So we reached the sign on Black Bear Pass. It says one way only. The sign is right there. Basically from here on the rest of the way down, it's not safe to have people going up and back. It's too narrow. Switchbacks are too obnoxious. It is important to know that because Black Bear Pass is so narrow and so steep, it is a one-way only road. From here, the trail gets just a little bit more rocky and just a little bit more bumpy. This is the initial area of the part of Black Bear Pass known as the steps.
You're coming off, slow. Perfect. Straight. You're coming off.
Easy.
Coming down, slow, slow, slow. Hey, you're coming off right now. Yep, straight, straight on. Straight on. Nice and slow. Back wheel lifts off the ground. Now turn, driver. Coming off. Slow.
The steps are a set of shelves in the road created by rocks, which can make it slightly challenging if you have a top-heavy vehicle to get down without tipping or teetering to one side or the other. This, of course, is the spot you always see photos of with 4Runners and other vehicles flipped or rolled over. Now, in our case, we really didn't have any trouble doing this, and I don't think we even got close to rolling any of the vehicles that we had with us. None of them had any issues whatsoever, but we still had an awesome spotter, which was Nate from CBI and Prinsu, who helped us find the correct line to make it down. Honestly, I would recommend having a spotter for this section, but it really wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people have made it out to be in certain videos. It would be very scary, however, if you have a top-heavy vehicle, and I would not recommend doing it if you don't have a good spotter or you don't know how to take proper lines.
As you come forward, cut hard driver. Yep, that's good. Keep coming, keep cutting, keep cutting. You have a drop driver. Maybe a foot. Yep, you're there. Drop passenger. Yep, cut driver a little more. Okay, straight out. Keep coming, straight, slow. You're gonna dip a little on your passenger. And you have a drop rear driver.
That's the pucker factor right there.
Right
that
there.
little feeling. Woo!
You're good, John. Straight. Straighten it out. You have plenty
coming off passenger. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Go driver just a hair. Okay, you're down there. Turn passenger. Nice and easy. You're just coming off the rock. Nice and easy. Yeah, you're there. Nice. Okay. Now crank driver. Nice and easy. You're gonna come off driver. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Okay, hold on. Keep going, driver. Real slow here. Okay. Now turn passenger a little bit. A little, right there. Nice and slow. Coming. Okay, nice and slow. Turn straight. Straight off. Straight off. Okay, stop. You're gonna come off passenger, so turn passenger. Yeah. Okay, keep passenger. You're good. You're good. Okay, you're gonna come down slow. Yep.
Yep.
Good line. Good line. Good line. Good line. Go straight. Go straight. Keep going straight. Straight. You're gonna come off passenger. Keep going. Okay, hold on. You're gonna slow, not slowly. You're gonna turn into it. Right here. Right here. Yep. And get forward momentum as you turn. Yep. Right there. That's great. Perfect. Keep going, driver. Keep going, driver. Keep going, driver. Keep going down right here. Okay, stop right there. Straighten it out. Okay, right there, right there. Little, matter of fact, little driver. Yep, right there. Nice and slow. You're coming down deep. Little bump. Okay, you're at the bottom. Go forward 6 inches, then turn passenger. Okay, you're coming off here. Slowly passenger. Yep. Yep. Turn passenger. Yep. Perfect. Okay, hold on. You're coming off the back. Yep, you're good.
Now for us, we had absolutely no issues getting the 5th Gen 4Runner, both 6th Gen 4Runners, the GX550, and the new Land Cruiser down this section of the steps. I will say that it would appear that the Land Cruiser had the easiest time, with the two 6th Gen 4Runners being close behind, then the GX550, and then the 5th Gen having just a little bit of trouble, primarily because it was very top heavy and the back end just wanted to come off the ground constantly. Once you have cleared the steps, you come to what I would consider to be the scariest part of all of Black Bear Pass. This is a famous section known as Adios Corner or Adios Turn. This section is particularly nerve-wracking because of the angle at which you're descending into Telluride. You cannot see the edge or where the drop-off is. You also can't see the next section of ledges below the cliff face, so when you're descending, it appears as if you are just on a sheer cliff face that drops into Telluride.
Wow. That one is an easier feature, but way scarier.
I don't think it's necessarily harder, it's just more butt pucker.
It's beautiful.
It's cool. Watch the mirror on that passenger side.
Okay. So, honest reaction, we just made it through the stairs. Genuinely, there's the first two parts, which are, I think, more technical, honestly. And you need a spotter, absolutely. Please don't do this on your own. And then that turn.
Steady, give him some space.
That turn.
Hang out there for a sec.
That is like famous with the old Jeep. It's an old photo. You're turning down, and that actually is the stairs. That is just actually terrifying. It's not as technical, I don't think, but it's just scary. It's really scary.
Now for this section of road, you're going to be on some steep exposed rock. It's going to push the vehicle up and forward so that you're facing down looking at the town of Telluride, and you have to make a very sharp right-hand turn. While making this right-hand turn, of course, you can't exactly see the edge of the cliff because you're so close to it and the hood of the vehicle will block it. Once you've made it around Adios Corner, which I definitely think everyone would agree was by far the most terrifying part of the entire trail, you make it to this really awesome scenic waterfall right before you start the descent down on the famous switchbacks.
I said earlier that this was easy and it was like imaging, but I've been humbled really fast because I don't think I've ever been more scared in my entire life. You're like really putting your life in these cars. Good thing they're Toyotas, but I've skydove, I have heli skied, I have bungee jumped in Mexico, and this trumps it all. I've never been so scared in my life. But like, I know some people online, it's like, black bear, it's easy. I'm like, not easy for me, could be easier for others. But it's more that thrill factor. It's not like so technical, but it's that, it's sheer cliff, but so fun.
The switchbacks on Black Bear Pass are a section of very steep, sharp turns that take you down the side of the mountain and drop you into Telluride. This is definitely one of the most dangerous parts of the trail, primarily because of the steep drop-offs at every single one of these three-point turns. Many people miscalculate their three-point turns, and they go a little too far off the edge, and they end up tumbling down. This, of course, where the most famous video from Black Bear Pass is from, where you see this Jeep tumbling down the switchbacks. Now, this video is not ours. This video is from a YouTube channel called Susie Rhodes. I will link the original video down there in the description so you guys can watch the original dash cam footage that shows this unfortunate accident where a Jeep did go a little too far over one of the switchbacks and tumbled all the way down. In a lot of the reels and videos we have posted, one of the most common comments is people asking why we have a spotter in some of these sections, and I'm going to try and demonstrate why this area is dangerous without a spotter. The cliff face here. Unfortunately, this is well known because a Jeep went off of this. If I'm not mistaken, the owner actually survived. She was actually okay. Obviously injured severely, but pretty scary spot right here because you can go off the edge pretty easy. Hard to make that 3, 5, 7-point turn without going off this edge. The primary issue is that the edges of these switchbacks are made up of loose rock. If you're not paying attention, it's very easy to go over the top of the loose rock and just lose a little bit of one of your tires going a little bit too far over the edge. Very close to the edge. Right here. Very tight for something like a 3rd Gen Tundra. These are, of course, very steep switchbacks with very steep 3-point turns, so if you happen to have your brakes slip or something goes wrong, it's very easy to go all the way off the edge. Now, the first switchback that you'll come to is by far the scariest and probably the most dangerous. Although from a technicality standpoint, these are literally just switchbacks. There's no features or obstacles, they are just sharp 3-point turns with very steep drop-offs. In our case, of course, again, we were lucky to have a very good spotter with Nate from CBI and Prinsu, who managed to get all of our vehicles through, including the bigger ones. Now, honestly, this is definitely doable with any 4Runner. It doesn't matter if you have the 6th gen or the 5th gen. If you have some rubbing and your tires aren't clearing your front bumper, your fender, or something like that, you might have some issues. This is definitely one of those areas where you want your full turn radius. The only vehicles that really had a problem were the larger 3rd gen Tundras, which still made it through. We just had to do more turns, so it was more of like a 6 or a 7-point turn instead of a 3-point turn. However, any 5th gen or 6th gen 4Runner, you should be able to do this as long as your tires clear just fine with something like a 3 to 5-point turn. Now, once you make it past this first initial really scary switchback, there are quite a few more on the way down that aren't quite as scary, but they're still dangerous. Now, you have a lot of these switchbacks before you start reaching the area of Bridal Falls. Bridal Falls is a very famous waterfall that can be seen from the town of Telluride, and when you approach this area of Black Bear Pass, you're actually going to get some really good views of Bridal Falls and get really close to one of the old buildings located at the top of the falls. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this building was originally used as a power facility that utilized the water coming from the waterfall to generate power. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure if that's accurate. That's what I've been told, and I think it's kind of fun to tell some trail stories. That's what I was told the first time I did Black Bear Pass. So if you want to fact check me, you guys can go ahead and look it up. Let me know in the comments if I'm incorrect. That's the story I was told the first time I did Black Bear Pass. Now, the switchbacks do continue, and they take you down to the base of Bridal Falls, where there is a really awesome view. If you want to get really close to it, you can get hit with a little bit of the mist from the falls, which is a nice reward after a long, hot day doing Black Bear Pass. Once you reach this point, you are through with the scariest and the hardest part of the trail, and you're pretty much done with Black Bear Pass in general. First impressions on Black Bear Pass, having just completed it.
Well, I'm glad that I did it. I'm kind of like in between my answers because I'm glad I did it. I really am. But I'm gonna be completely honest, I would never recommend one of my friends do this. Like, I wouldn't want them to be in that danger. It's a dangerous trail, and I think it's beautiful, but the risk to reward, it's a 1 in a million chance of like being here and seeing this, but I don't know, it's really dangerous. It really is. And I know if you do it right, like we all made it out safe. We just got 7 cars down it. Definitely never do it in a full-size truck. That was incredibly difficult for Stetson and Carson. But it's beautiful, it's a cool trail. If you want to do it, just be very careful and probably do it soon, because I really don't think it's going to be open very long. It's unbelievably dangerous.
I think almost everyone that does this road has the same reaction the first time they do it. Wow, that was really scary. I don't think I would ever do that again. Again, not because the road is technical or challenging, but primarily because of the sheer drop-offs and the close proximity you have to these sheer cliff faces. Now, in the end, can you do Black Bear Pass in a bone stock 4Runner? Yes, absolutely. I think it would be totally doable in a bone stock 4Runner. More important than having 4-wheel drive or traction control or bigger tires, which do help for sure. I think the most important part of Black Bear Pass is making sure that you have good brakes, you know what you're doing, and you have a good spotter. This trail is dangerous. It's not necessarily technical, it's just dangerous. For that reason, it's hard for us to give an exact rating on what we would consider this trail. On the technicality factor, I would actually rate this a 4 out of 10 if it were me. I don't think this trail is very technical at all. There's not a lot of rock crawling, there's not a lot of technical spots, with the exception of the steps, which are a little bit challenging. If you have a good spotter, it's really not that bad. I could see how you would roll or flip here, but we didn't have any issues, and we had something like 7 vehicles. Not a single one even came close. So yes, there are some spots that are a little bit rocky, and if you're bone stock, you're probably going to scrape and rub in quite a few spots, maybe lose some fenders, something like that. I really wouldn't consider it challenging. Again, it's just dangerous. It's just a dangerous trail, primarily because a small mistake can cost you severely. Honestly, most of the situations you get in on Black Bear Pass really aren't that bad. There's just a couple. There's just 2 or 3 really bad ones that can be dangerous if you're not careful. Ultimately, Black Bear Pass remains one of my favorite trails in all of Colorado. This is a little bit of a hot take, but I like Imaging Pass a lot better. So if you are looking to visit the Telluride area and hit some trails, we do have an Imaging Pass video coming here soon. 2 of the most iconic trails in the Telluride area. Let me know what you guys think. What did I miss? What should we put in the next video? What would you like to see compared? We will be doing a comparison video between all the vehicles that we brought on this, the GX550, the Land Cruiser, the 6th Gen, and the 5th Gen, to see which one we think actually handled it the best. Let us know what you guys think from the footage you saw in this video. As always, you can find everything Toyota 4Runner for every generation on our website, 4runnerlifestyle.com, which I will drop a link to down there in the description. Make sure you guys are subscribed to see more videos for everything Toyota 4Runner, and we hope to see you guys out there on the trails.